All right. Welcome, everyone, to our International Applicant Welcome event. It's so great to see you all here with us today, and we're really excited to share with you more about the international student experience at UBC, whether you decide to join us at the Vancouver or Okanagan campus. Now, combined together, both of our campuses attract, nurture, and transform more than 65,000 students from Canada and over 140 different countries from around the world. Now, my name is Franco Fung, and I am the Student Recruitment Officer for UBC Engineering at the UBC Vancouver campus. I would like to begin by acknowledging the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, and our campus lands have been home to Indigenous peoples for thousands of years. And the space where we work, learn, connect, and innovate is on the unceded ancestral and traditional territories of the Musqueam peoples. And now I'd like to take a moment to introduce our co-host today, Marie, to introduce our Okanagan campus.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Like Franco said, my name is Marie Reed, and I'm an engineering advisor from the UBC Okanagan campus, and my pronouns are she, her. I would like to acknowledge that the UBC Okanagan campus is situated in the territory of the Selix Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. Back over to you, Franco.
Awesome. Thanks, Marie. So before we dive into today's session, just want to go through a couple of Zoom housekeeping tips, just so you can get the best experience possible with us here today. If you happen to experience any audio and video issues, you can adjust your settings through the audio and video options at the bottom of your screen. After you play around with those and you're still experiencing issues, please let us know in the Q&A, and we can try to help you troubleshoot. Now, of course, this session is designed for you to ask questions. So please feel free throughout the presentation to ask your questions through the Q&A box. Again, you can find that option at the bottom of your screen. What we do ask you to do is please submit your questions just once so we can have an opportunity to get to your question. And yes, we will do our best to get to your question for sure. Now, if required, if you require this, closed captioning is also available to you as well. And again, that's another option at the bottom of your screen. And finally, if you're not able to stick with us for the entire session, that's okay. We will be sharing the recording on our YouTube channels shortly after we finish this session. Yeah, of course, it's great to see so many potential future UBC engineerings joining us today. So in this presentation, you've already met myself and Marie, but you also meet some of our students and also some of our staff we have with us as well. Our students, you're going to get to meet them a little bit later on, but for now, I'm just going to quickly introduce some of our staff. So Sebastian, you want to say a quick hello?
I'm happy to do so. So wonderful to see everybody here. My name is Sebastian Colasar, pronouns are he, his. I work at the Okanagan campus as an international student advisor. You might see next to my name that there's RCIC there. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I've been with our team here for actually working with international students for 8 years. Happy to support you in better understanding what services and supports are available to you on both campuses within the line of my work.
Thanks, Sebastian, and over to Ashley.
Hello, everyone. Good morning for some, good afternoon for some, and good evening for others. Super excited to be here today. I am one of 60 international recruiters that we have here at the University of British Columbia. We travel to over 160 different countries over the years. So you may have met some of us in your classroom or met some of us in online session. Our main goal is to support you in making an informed decision about UBC and supporting you with your application process and helping you understand things like scholarships, things like waiting to hear back from engineering or other departments and things of that sort. So super glad to be on today's call. And for those of you that are have many questions, know that Sebastian and myself are here to answer those questions. And back to you, Frank.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. One thing I actually forgot to do is I'm interested in getting to know a little bit more about everyone who's joining us. So the chat is open. If you can let us know what country you're joining us from today, I think that would be really helpful to see kind of where our guests are coming from around the world. So open up the chat, drop a drop a quick hello and what country you're joining us from. We'd love to see. We see Canada, US, Indonesia. It's great to see such a diversity. Russia, Mexico. That is awesome. El Salvador. Amazing. Well, welcome everyone. And that's also, I think, a good thing for you all to see the diversity of countries that we see in our applicants every single year. Okay, so back to our agenda. So what do we have in store for you here today? So I'm going to start off by going over some frequently asked questions and some common questions that we're getting from applicants right now. Then we're going to turn it over to Sebastian and give you some updates on when it comes to like if you have any questions about the visa process and how you can get support on that. Then after that, we're going to turn it over to our current students for them to introduce themselves. And then we're going to wrap up with a live Q&A in the breakout rooms so you can get your questions answered later on. So let's start off by I've applied, what's next? So a big question that we're getting from our applicants, of course, is when can I expect a decision on my application? So UBC continues to send out decisions, and we've been doing that since the start of December, and it's going to continue into the end of April. So of course, you can always stay up to date on your application status by visiting your application service center regularly, so your ASC. If you haven't had a chance to go in there, please, I encourage you to go check that out because any communications about your application will be updated there first. Now, UBC might be asking, may require additional documents from you before we are able to issue an admission decision. So if we do require supporting documents from you, UBC will communicate that to you through your application service center, so your ASC. So again, make sure you check that regularly. Depending on what the document is, will kind of vary how you need to submit that. So when you do get a communication from UBC, please review that carefully so you don't miss any important information there. The next question is about scholarships. Of course, scholarships and financials are an important part of making your university decision. And for scholarship decisions, most of these are being made right now until the end of April. Successful candidates will be notified directly by email. So please continue checking your email regularly for any updates. If you're thinking of joining us at UBC Vancouver or the Okanagan, of course, you're going to be looking into housing options and residence. So there is a first-year guarantee. So UBC does offer a first-year guarantee as long as you apply by our deadline of May 1st. So if you are, depending on which campus you go to, I suggest you visit those specific campus housing websites. I'll drop a link in the chat once I'm done over here so you can explore a little bit more about what that process looks like. And finally, some final tips for me. Again, I mentioned this earlier, make sure you check your email regularly for any updates on your application. When you do get a communication, make sure you read through that carefully and thoroughly. And then if you do have further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you out. So that's it for me. I'm going to hop into the chat and send those links that I promised you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sebastian to talk a little bit more about the international student services we have available for you.
Thank you so much, Rick. So international student services, I've been working within the international student services space for around 8 years, so I'll be able to share a little bit more about what you can expect to receive while you are a UBC student, from the moment you receive your offer of admission to the moment that you leave the university. So we'll feel free to go to the next page, Franco. Wonderful. So you can see here that international student advisors typically hold either one of two designations: regulated Canadian immigration consultant like myself, or a regulated international student immigration advisor. So that means that we are one of a few authorized people in Canada who would be able to provide you with information and advice on any of the items you see on the slide here. So that would be study permits, temporary resident visas, inviting your friends and family to Canada for convocation or to visit you during your program of study. We can help you get a co-op work permit so you can perhaps participate in the cooperative education program and get some work experience before you finish at UBC. We can help you to interpret your eligibility to work in Canada, and we interpret immigration law and policy in doing so. We can help you to prepare for your post-graduation work permit which would be the permit that all UBC bachelor's students would be eligible to apply for if they're meeting certain criteria at the end of their program to stay in Canada after they've graduated. And then we also deliver immigration-related workshops. Permanent residency support is a little bit different by campus, and I'll go over some of these differences in a couple of seconds, but also general immigration questions. But it's really not just restricted to immigration. We do support international students with anything that might be relevant. And so that includes setting up your health insurance. If you have an issue with your land, if you have an issue in the community, you're wanting to learn more a little bit about volunteering in the community, getting connected with people that might understand your cultural context. There are so many things that an international student might need to navigate during their time at UBC. And I can guarantee you that over the past 8-10 years, myself and my colleagues, we have seen quite a bit. So we're going to be able to help you with some of that defined expertise. Perfect. So you can see here, we've got a couple options of how to contact us. Now, I do want to separate the services between Vancouver campus and the Okanagan campus here, and just mention in passing that at the Vancouver campus, you don't have individualized support for permanent residency. You do, however, receive links and resources to connect with the Government of Canada, specifically Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada's public educational programming on permanent residency. On the Okanagan campus, we have an in-house or a full-time consultant who's able to help you to understand how permanent residency would affect you. But outside of permanent residency, both of our offices provide the exact same services to students. There are 10 advisors in the Vancouver campus who hold that immigration designation. On our campus, we have 3 advisors. One advisor is specifically designated for graduate students, but also will likely help you too if you're an undergraduate student on our campus. And so these are just a couple QR codes that you can consider. You'll go to our contact page, you'll see our hours of operation. But typically students, whether they're at the admission stage, they've been admitted to UBC, or they're currently studying at UBC in a program, making progress towards the completion of that program, you're always able to connect with us either in person if you're here in Canada, virtually over Zoom at this point, or also over email, right? So there are a number of different ways you can connect with a UBC International Student Immigration Advisor in Vancouver and the Okanagan campus. And we are available to support you with your immigration needs at this time, right? So your study permit application is going to be the most critical step that you're going to have to navigate soon. And we are here to support you with that. I just wanted to say in passing, I see we have some students here that are dual citizens, perhaps they're in Canada. If you're a dual citizen, of course, you're not going to have to worry about this. But if you are a student who is here as an international student at the secondary level, you're in high school and you're going to be moving to UBC, it's very important that you access our services and get some individualized support with your application. It's a little bit more complicated for students moving from secondary. We want to make sure that you get your permit issued before you are expected to start at UBC, so you don't run into any delays or obstacles in starting your program. So I've just covered some of the services and supports that we have available to you, but just see us as your one-stop shop for all things international student life, international student immigration. And I can't wait to meet so many of you when you do arrive on our campus. So I believe that does conclude kind of the segment of my presentation today, but this is just one of many conversations you're going to be having about life in Canada. And I'm so excited to have those with you.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. We really appreciate you giving that overview for the presentation today. I'm just going to take a second to pause here because on my end, it looks like my screen may have frozen. Franco, is everything okay on your end?
You were frozen, but you are back. So
Okay,
all good to go.
perfect. All right. Not sure if everyone heard what I said, but I just was thanking Sebastian for sharing the information about our international student advising. You will have time if you have questions to chat with Sebastian and Ashley later in our breakout rooms. So if you have questions, feel free to keep those and you can ask them directly. So now I'd like to invite our current international students from both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus to join me on screen. We have Rosine, Kyle, Juliana, and Nora who are going to join us here today. We are so happy that you can all be here today to share a bit about your engineering journey and transition to life in Canada. So before we go into our panel questions, we wanted to give each person an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them. So we're going to start off today with Rosine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosine. I'm a third-year civil engineering student here at Okanagan campus, and I'm the international peer for the School of Engineering. So basically, sharing my experience and other student life-related resources to incoming students, help them decide whether UBC is good for you. And yeah, I'm from Rwanda, East Africa.
Thank you, Rosine. I'll pass it over to Kyle next.
Hello, everyone, guys, gals, non-binary pals. My name's Kyle. I'm a third year in civil engineering with a focus on environmental engineering as well. You can see there environmental concentration. My home country is the Philippines, and I'm a current research assistant in the bioreactor technology group here on the Okanagan campus.
Thank you, Kyle. And now I'm going to invite Nora.
Hi everyone, my name is Nara. I'm an international student from Indonesia. I'm now in my third year of civil engineering at UBC Vancouver, also pursuing a minor in commerce. And outside of school, I'm part of the UBC Steelbridge as a BIM member. So BIM is Building Informational Modeling. And I'm also part of the UBC ASC student chapter. So ASC is American Society of Civil Engineer as an event coordinator and also sponsorship lead. And this role is actually what made me pursue minor in commerce starting my second year. And I'm currently live in the upper year UBC residence in Vancouver. And in my first year, I was part of the first year residence in Totem Park. And lastly, in the next academic year, this September, I will be one of the orientation leaders for the Faculty of Engineering. So if you guys join UBC Vancouver, I will see you all in Jumpstart.
Thank you so much, Nora. I'm sure everyone's already excited to meet you if you're their orientation leader in the fall. Awesome. And last but not least, Juliana.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Juliana. I am currently in second year studying environmental engineering at the Vancouver campus. I'm currently a social content creator for Eng Stories. So if you follow the account, you've probably seen me before. I also hold an exec position in the Thunderbird dance team. So if you go to the varsity games, you'll probably see me around too. And I am from Colombia, which is a country in South America. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Juliana, and thank you all for those great introductions. We're going to dive right in now to our panel questions. So the first question is for Rosine and Nora, and this question is, what were your initial impressions of Kelowna or Vancouver and UBC when you first arrived? And can you share any tips for navigating the Canadian winter or Canadian weather? We're going to start with Rosine for this one.
Thank you. Honestly, I was impressed by the way UBC Okanagan has like many resources around you. Like they will support you from like just being a student academically, financially, like and mentally. I mean, I will focus on academics because yeah, we are students and most of the time we're concerned about academics. Yeah, so the learning hub is a flex. Like they offer free tutoring for courses, like basically hard courses, and they have like a supplemental learning assistant who will just assist you in like navigating those challenging courses so you don't run behind your academics, which is good and free. Yeah, so yeah, I was so happy to have all those resources around me. And Kelowna, it's very good. Like it's a very beautiful nature, like the hikes, the mountains. Knox is my favorite because you can see like the whole city at the top of Knox Mountain, which is amazing. And actually the weather, when I first arrived, I was so confused because I'm not used to this daylight, like having longer days in summers and then shorter days in winter. So I was confused because I arrived at the airport around 7 p.m. but the sun was still up. I was like, oh my God, where am I going? Yeah, and when but at the end of fall, when it was 7 degrees, I was already freezing. So yeah, I wasn't used to the weather. So like when you reach here, I mean, if you're from a place which is usually not cold, I think it's better to buy your winter jackets early, because you might need them earlier compared to when others will need them. Yeah, and I don't think it's like very cold compared to other provinces, like Winnipeg. Those places are really cold, but it's actually cold if you haven't experienced winter before. Yeah, so buy your jackets, guys.
Thank you, Rosina. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective of Kelowna, UBC Okanagan, and just adjusting to the weather and learning how to adapt and what you might need for that. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass over to Nora now to share their initial impressions of UBC Vancouver, the Vancouver area, and if you have any tips about the Canadian weather.
Yeah, so when I first arrived in Vancouver, it was in autumn and it's a lot like windy and it's starting to get cold, but I still manage to wear my hoodies without like the winter coat. So if you haven't like bought any winter coat yet in your home country, it's okay. You can still have September to October to buy it here. And the first place in UBC that I visited was UBC Rose Garden, and you can see the mountains there. And also from the street of Vancouver too, you can see the balance between nature and urban landscapes in like one frame. So it was really amazing, especially when it's sunny. And I came from a tropical climate country, so I was really excited to see my first snow in my first year here. And my first impression to see the my first snow was it's really beautiful to see all the soil, the trees, the mountains covered in white. And I went for a winter hike, which is a new thing for me. Usually I do like a summer hike in Indonesia, but here I got to do winter hike in Carey Rock in North Vancouver. And I tried my first ski slash snowboarding in Grouse Mountain. But as time went by, as a student, sometimes it can get very challenging just to like walk or commute to class in the middle of snow because sometimes the soil is slippery, and when the snowfall gets heavy, it started to impact like the bus schedule if you live off campus. So what I did personally was I brought a couple of hoodies and windbreaker of mine from Indonesia because by the time I arrived here, it was autumn, right? And it's windy. Then around September to October, because before it gets too cold or snowy, I bought some winter coat and boots here. So it made me like easier to commute to class because I live in first year residence, so I just need to walk to class with my boots.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. And Kelowna and Vancouver are about a 4.5 to 5 hour drive apart, so there's slightly different weather, but you will experience the four seasons, which is really great if you haven't seen snow before. But thank you for Rosine and Nara for sharing your experience and your tips. The next question is for Kyle and Juliana, and the questions are, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when transitioning from high school to university at UBC? And what support systems did you use to help adjust to university life, both academically and socially? We're going to start with Kyle for this one.
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges when it comes to adjusting from high school to university life. It usually will revolve around your social life, since I would have to find a circle of friends. Then I'm back at home, new environments, obviously meet new faces. And additionally, it is the lifestyle changes and the different cultures between high school and university life. In high school, you don't really have freedom in your schedule. In university, you do have some choice over the schedules that you'll have, but that also means that you have a lot of responsibility with that one. Nonetheless, it was mostly friends in a club with the same interest that has helped me with my endeavors, per se. We would say, and I'm part of the a cappella club, and usually I could ask for advice from their separate or similar journeys, whether it may be that they're in engineering or whether they're in another major. having a group with the same hobbies and interest types, you already have something to talk about. You can build off of that, and you're able to not only, I would say, take on this challenge on your own. I would arguably say you could take these challenge together. And at the end of the day, you have made friends along the way. You're able to survive university. And honestly, the biggest challenge then is just overcoming that hurdle of having to find new friends and having to not reinvent, but rather to rebuild what you can during your stay here.
Thank you, Kyle. That was really great for you to share your advice on how to make friends when you arrive. And I also really like how you pointed out how you can join clubs to find that social circle that's not just within your degree, but also with a lot of other students with different interests on campus. I'm now going to pass over to Juliana for the same questions.
Yes, I'm going to split the question between academically and socially. So starting off academically, there's definitely classes that were easier to adapt to than others. In my case, I had a hard time adapting to math. So, the way I was taught math in high school was really different than the way UBC teaches math. But that's okay. With those first few exams, I thought about them as like my first opportunity to get familiar with the way UBC produces their test and grades you and marks your process. So it's okay for those first grades to not be amazing. And that just teaches you how to answer the questions and how you best study um, each class. So I think my biggest tip is to study with friends who have strengths on different classes than you. So personally, I had chemistry really well, and I had a few friends who were doing really good in math. So having those study groups where you can help each other out, it was really helpful, and you will just get the hang of it as time goes by. And I would also like to say that office hours are amazing. Professors are willing to help you. That's why they're professors. And they just have you they resolve your questions one on one. So it's amazing. And then socially speaking, the first week was really hard to adapt. It's I was thousands of kilometers away from home. I didn't have a group of friends like solid. Um, and I felt like I didn't feel like I belong at the beginning, but I actually did Jumpstart. So just like Nara mentioned, I'm also going to be a Jumpstart orientation leader. And basically the job of an orientation leader is to help you get your first few friends, probably the friends you're gonna have for those next 4 to 5 years in UBC, and it's amazing. You're gonna get to meet a lot of the people in UBC Engineering, in your residence if you're doing residence, or people if you're in collegia, other commuters who are also in UBC Engineering, and also some faculty fellows. So you get to meet some professors that are probably going to teach you a class or two in your career. So it's just an amazing head start or jump start. And I just wanted to say, like, feel free to talk to people in your residence, your dining halls, or even in a class. Everyone is in the same boat. So I know it feels scary, but everyone is there right there with you. And yeah, it's just great to connect with other people.
Thank you, Juliana. I'm so happy you brought up Jumpstart as well, because that's such a great program on both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campuses, where incoming first year students have an opportunity to learn a lot about the campus, but also what's really important is having that chance to make friends and build their community before you even start your first class. So thank you so much. And so to continue this theme of like, how did you find your community? How did you make friends? We wanted to invite Rosine and Nara to also share a little bit about when they first arrived at university. How did they make friends and find their sense of the community? And were there any spaces or groups that helped them feel more connected? So maybe for these questions, we'll start with Nara.
Yeah. So I participated in the Jumpstart orientation program, and it was guided by two orientation leaders for each group. and each group itself had 20 students. So I started making friends from there, because we met every day for like maybe 3 days in the orientation period. So I started making friends from there, and I also ask and chat a lot with my orientation leaders about how did they manage first year to get their intended specialization, and what's the tips for passing this course, and what club do they recommend us to like join based on maybe our interests. And because I live in the first year residence in Totem Park, and each floor had one resident advisor assigned to kind of accompany or assist the first year students throughout the year. So in the beginning of the term, my resident advisor, we call them RA, hosted a gathering with everyone living in my floor. So I got to meet my neighbor and make friends with them. And I talk to them a lot, and I see them in the hallway almost every day. So it's great to see them and getting to know each other and make friends from there. So living in residence offers me the sense of belonging to the UBC community. And I'm also aware that making friends in first year classes can be challenging because of the big class size and like everyone having different kind of schedule. But there's a course called APSC 100. We called it EPSI 100, which is set in group of 6 for the entire first term. And I had a solid and fun group, I would say, which I still see them often until now. We're all in third year. We still chat with each other. Sometimes we had lunch together. So I took benefits from participating in this course because it is set in like group setting for, and we had group assignments. So we had like discussion a lot with each other. And I took benefits from this course as a resource to be more connected with like fellow first years in my cohort.
Thank you so much. No, I really like how you highlighted Jumpstart again, as well as your time in first year residence and that really important design course where you were able to meet a lot of students within your cohort. So thank you so much for sharing. And now I'm going to pass it over to Rosine to share a little bit about her experience at the Okanagan campus.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, honestly, living in residences helps a lot because like you're in a new environment, you're trying to kind of belong, fit the community. I remember when I first arrived, I had my passport in my hand and I was moving my bags. It was kind of weird. And then when I reached the door, I didn't know how to actually like put in my, I forgot. They told me, but then I forgot that I need to press like my student number and charge my key before entering. And then someone came to me and then was like, why are you holding a blue passport? I was like, I'm from East Africa. And I was like, oh, same. Then he was like, oh, which floor are you on? I said second. Oh, I'm your RA. So okay. Yeah, that's a good start. And yeah, and we became friends. He helped me out like settling in. And also Jumpstart was a good way to connect with my classmates because we were organized like by faculty, so like applied science groups, arts groups. Yeah, so everyone who was in my group, they were doing engineering. Then I mean, it's hard to talk on the first day, but as the days go by, you just introduce yourself, say your name, and kind of bond from there. And then when you see them in class, you can form a group and collaborate on projects and stuff. And also joining clubs. When I arrived, I joined the African Caribbean Student Club. It was also a fun way to connect with people whom we share same culture and then like stay connected to home, like find a home far from home. Yeah, I enjoyed the events, the gala, the food, like different events just to connect with people. And UBCO it's a very close-knit community, honestly. Like you meet people and then people introduce you to people and then like make a very long bond, like friendship. It's so hard to get lost when you're here. But yeah, I would say like if you are a freshman coming in, don't plan to miss orientation. Jumpstart is a very good start. don't plan to miss it, because that's where you start. That's where you start like making those connections when things are still fresh.
Thank you so much, Rosine. And really what I'm hearing from all four of you is there's many places for you guys to meet friends in your first year. There's many different ways, but the orientation is very important. If you're living in residence, lots of opportunity there, but lots of other great opportunities in clubs and in your classes. So thank you so much for sharing. Our last question on the panel before we go into our breakout rooms is for Kyle and Juliana. And this question is, how has your experience at university shaped your career aspirations and goals in engineering? So we're going to start with Kyle for this one.
Yeah, sure. So all of the practical hands-on experience in the labs that I had to go through for all of my courses, and not only that, my current lab made me realize that I loved like research and development, R&D. I guess it is intrinsically motivated because I don't really see myself working a lot on site. It's ironic since you will see a lot of on-site work in civil engineering, but regardless, and that I'm more mentally stimulated from discovering or extending on newer developments in engineering practices. In my lab, we get to test biomethane production and biofuel production from your wastewater. And by manipulating certain chemicals or certain concentrations, we're able to get certain yields, and that becomes very interesting from not only a microbiome standpoint, but also from a physical and organic chemistry standpoint. My assistantship in BTG and the past assigned projects have shaped the fact that I'm more inclined to doing R&D and finding new interesting developments that not only go to wastewater, but also in material conversion, which also happens in the environmental engineering field.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kyle. And research is a really great opportunity at either campus if you're interested in exploring more about a specific area in engineering. And like Kyle said, this has really helped him to understand what he likes most and was most passionate about within his program. And so now I'm going to ask the same question to Juliana.
Yes, thank you. The approach I took with this question was because I'm second year, I wanted to talk about how UBC has a great like schedule for classes and the way they prepare you to become a professional engineer. So in first year, you enter UBC as just like a student in engineering in the Faculty of Applied Science, and you have a foundational first year. What this means is that you're going to take a lot of like the basics, and you're going to have class with everyone in engineering, regardless of which discipline or program you want to go into. And one of the classes I want to highlight that also Nara mentioned before, it's ABSCI 100 and 101. So this is basically a class that was really interesting to me because you take this class as part of a team. So with your team, you're gonna sit and lecture together, and then you're going to have a studio together. And basically the flow of the class is through a series of modules that you have to complete about like design problems, where you have to either design something or propose a solution or find a proposal. So I remember the first one I did was a cardboard chair, which sounds fairly simplistic, but it is not. You're going to see and learn the design process that an engineer has to go through. So I just find it really interesting how since the first day, UBC makes you like learn like an engineer, because that's basically what engineers do. We design in groups of engineers. And then now in second year, once I already did my second year placement, I got into environmental engineering, and we have a class called NV203, which is environmental engineering and sustainability. And it's not your typical physics and math class. It's actually we have guest speakers every single week. Um, so we have had environmental engineers which are working in fields like architecture, business, law, and construction. So it really opens every single door that as an environmental engineer I can go into once I graduate or even when I'm studying. So I find it's a really good class, and the way UBC has created their flow of classes, it's perfect to prepare you to be a professional engineer, and it shows you all the different doors you can go into with such a versatile degree. So for example, just in this class, I learned that I loved carbon accounting and embodied carbon calculations, which I didn't even know existed before. So just a lot to learn through UBC classes.
Thanks so much, Juliana. I really like how you mentioned the foundational first year, because like you mentioned, it's a really great way to meet lots of people, but also just to learn about your programs and to set you up for success in your future years at UBC and after you graduate. Before we wrap up our event, we just wanted to go over a few other items that you may find of interest or you may want to attend coming up in April. So the first thing, I'm going to repeat what Franco said. Watch out for emails from us, from UBC. Keep checking those emails and stay connected with us if you have any questions. In our emails that you'll get from UBC Engineering, we often feature our UBC Engineering ambassadors. You can start a chat with them at any point in time to ask any questions you have about the student experience. We have students on our Chat with a Student webpage from both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus with various experiences throughout their campus, including participating in research, co-op, et cetera, and across multiple programs. We also have some great events coming up in April. You can save the date for our Women in Engineering event. That's next week on April 2nd. We have a Meet Your First Year Professor virtual event on April 16th. The registration for both of those are already open, so feel free to register if you're interested in either of those sessions. We also have we also have sessions. If you have specific questions about UBC Engineering, you can join us for our drop-in advising session on April 29th. Registration is required for this, and that can be found through our events page, which Franco will share the link in the chat shortly. UBC is also hosting UBC Welcomes You events across Canada and around the world throughout the month of April. So you can check out our UBC Engineering events webpage to see which events we will be at if one of those events are in your area and you're available to attend. Like I said, you can check out all of our other events on our web pages. And if you're interested of doing a virtual or in-person tour, there are tour options on the u.ubc.ca website. I also saw a few people writing in the chat that they might be visiting the Vancouver or Okanagan campus throughout April, and they're wondering what's happening around that time. On the next slide here, you can find the email address to reach me at the Okanagan campus, which is soe.advising@ubc.ca, or Franco at the Vancouver campus, which is outreach@appsci.ubc.ca. Please feel free to reach out to us if you're visiting campus and you want to know what's happening on campus or to see if you can meet with a current student or faculty member. We'd be happy to work with you to see what is available. On this slide, there's also some other websites. There are some admission websites, UBC Engineering websites, as well as our Engineering Stories team, which Juliana was mentioning. She's one of the social content creators who worked with that team. So feel free to check any of those links out. I also just want to wrap up now by saying thank you so much to all of our current students for being here with us today. Rosine, Kyle, Juliana, and Nora, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Sebastian and to Ashley for joining us today and sharing all of your great insights. And finally, thank you for all of you for taking the time to come and chat with us to learn more about our program. I hope we were able to answer a lot of your questions you have. If not, please feel free to reach out to us. We hope to see all of you in September. Thank you so much for coming today, and I hope you have a great day or evening. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.